Good evening. How are you? Listen, this is Pastor Ted, and this is Lady Melissa.
Hello.
Hey, and we're here with Marriage Matters. Listen, we just came to share with you a little bit, talk to you a little bit, and hope that we could say some things that would bless you. We've been married. This year will be 25 years, and God has blessed us. He's allowed us to go through some things and come out on top. And when we say come out on top, it doesn't necessarily mean that we came out on top monetarily or that we have all the answers to the things that we've had to address in marriage. But this is one thing, we're still together. But by the grace of God, we're still together. And we are moving forward and not being still and stagnant.
I'm grateful just to share this time with you. I know for the past couple weeks we've been apart.
Yeah.
We've been doing some things individually, but yet still together.
Always.
I am just glad to be here with you tonight. So, question on the table.
What is on the table, my sister?
So, why did I get married?
Wow.
Why did you get married?
Okay, we'll start with that part because it's a two-part question. And the question says, why did I get married? And why are we still married
together.
and still together? You know, the funny reason why, we use that I in there, because when we ventured into this, everybody had their own perspective. I thought one thing and she thought another thing, and we weren't connected as we. Even though the Bible says that he who is joined together, let no man put asunder, and we were supposed to be united as one. Yes, we were from the physical form, but we wasn't connected. Today, if we want to implore anything about our relationship, we want to share with you the importance of being together, being on the same page.
Like you just said a few minutes ago, and when we came into marriage, everyone you have your own agenda, their own thing, your own perspective of why am I with this person? How do I see marriage? And I think that's one of the things that when I wasn't even interested in getting married. Let's just go back.
Yeah, let's go back.
I wasn't even interested in getting married. To me, marriage was not one of those things that was first on my agenda, the first thing on my checklist, my to-do list. And so really it had to be you and it had to be God, because that wasn't even on the thing. I think every woman or every person has their checklist, and they're like, okay, I want to do this by this age, and I want to have children by this age, and I want to buy a house by this age. Marriage, it wasn't even on there. And but what happened was, when I got to know you, I got to know you as a person that challenged me in a good way. Because when you see marriage, and everybody is a little bit different, but one of the things that we tell people when we're doing counseling sessions is that you can't depend on that person to make you happy. No. Happiness is, it's a temporal thing. You're happy one minute, you're sad the next, you're angry in the next minute. So when you start looking at a person saying, oh, you make me happy, is that, one, that's not that person's responsibility.
Right.
You made me feel safe.
There you go.
You made me feel safe, that I could be me, that I could be Melissa Yvette Tillery. I could be me. There was no qualms about it. There was no judgment. So I felt safe. So, that's the reason why I got married. It wasn't, for what you did, because I was in the legal field, and I was like, bruh do hair.
Yeah.
So, but you made me feel safe.
Well, the whole thing about it is we come with different reasonings. We come together for that thing that we yearn for. For me, it might have been safety for you, but it was completion for me.
I completed you.
I believe that you were sent to complete me. Don't get me wrong. I was doing too bad on my own.
No, I've seen a few of them. So yeah, no, you good out.
Whatever. Yeah. The whole thing about it is, when you find that right person, it's not always that you're looking for them or what they can actually constitute to what you're trying to achieve. Yeah. But it's the whole thing about it is you know it when it gets there. We were blessed. It wasn't either of us desiring. I had life as a bachelor, and I thought it was, nice,
Nice?
Yeah, I thought it was
nice. You thought
nice.
it was nice?
Nice, yeah. I mean, I thought it was nice. I mean, I'm sure you had your opinion.
He had passport.
Okay.
He had a passport on. He thought it was nice.
I thought it was nice. Okay. But the whole thing about it is I was incomplete. And the realization of finding a real mate, somebody who was your soulmate, and when we say soulmate, it isn't love at first sight always. Sometimes it's good that the person that you're with grows on you. They seem to just not wear you down, but build you up. And I was blessed by that. So my mentality about the relationship that you and I have is about that you complete me. I know that we have this little thing that we do as husband and wife. Listen, I am the big picture guy. I am the guy who sees the vision of things and how things ought to be. I come up with ideas and all these kind of things and concepts about stuff. But my wife is yeah.
You see the beginning of it and you see the end of it.
Right.
He sees nothing in between. It starts with once upon a time and they lived happily ever after.
Yes.
Nothing in between.
But the whole thing about it is what you bring to it was the details and the details of it. And a lot of times in a lot of relationships, what's missing is the fact that the two need to be in tune with each other about
intertwined.
Yeah. And I would see that as we would strategize. Now that was a shared thing. When we strategize, when we would, would come up with a concept. Yes, you got a concept, but how do we make it work? She would always challenge me with that question. Okay, so now what? Yes, you got a great idea. You got some things popping for yourself, Mr. McCray.
What's next?
Now, what's next? How do we get this to move? How do we make this thing mobilize? How do we get it to be set in motion? Yeah.
I remember that and first of all, hello to everybody.
Yeah, hey, I'm sorry.
We got some family and friends out there. Sister Val, we love you. We love you.
Always. Hey, Chuck.
I hope there's some cake left over from graduation. Kiss my babies for me. To Apostle Allen. To Tamar, hey.
Yes.
How are you? And to Sister Natalie, saying hello to the Syracuse. But one of the things that I like with us, because honestly, when I came here, that's how I know it was God, because this wasn't even planned. I came here for 2 weeks to visit my family for Christmas, and I never went back.
You know why? You all know why, right?
Bro, it was a job.
It was me.
I got a job.
Don't believe that. It was Ted McCray. Yes.
You got me to stay here, but you didn't get me to get here.
No, I didn't.
You won't paying.
No, but I was very convincing.
You were convincing, but so was a check.
Yes.
So I got here, and that's when you know that you can laugh with each other, good, bad, and indifferent.
Yes.
That you can find comfort in that person. That even in the uncomfortable issues, you find comfort in that person.
Yeah.
And that was important to us. When I first came here, I came here for 2 weeks. And, and things happened and I was able to, and I got a job. And I was only going to take the job for 6 months. And so relationship-wise, and that's why, I think it's important when people start a relationship
Right.
that you shouldn't just be seeking a relationship.
Yeah.
You know, it is literally let love find you.
Exactly.
Let love find you. I was here for 2 weeks. I was supposed to be here for 2 weeks with one suitcase, and I literally ended up moving everything here. My dad went and got my car.
Right.
I closed out my apartment there, and we got married within a year.
Within a year, yeah.
But the thing about what I loved about you is I love the way you loved your mom, the way you treated her. You were strong in your convictions. So whether we were right, whether I agreed with them or not, it was that you'll listen, but you're gonna do your own thing. But I'm like, okay, but he's listening.
Yes.
You know, and I felt like that we would grow together. Neither
And
one
we did,
is,
though.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
one,
did.
but I think the important thing about it when you're talking about marrying somebody is that you see potential and growth.
Yeah.
I think what happens in some marriages or when in some relationships, people expect that person to be exactly where they're gonna be.
Well, hold on a second. I want to share something while you're right there when it talks about growth. Okay? When we're talking about growth, we're not talking, well, this part of growth I feel was necessary for me. Okay? There were some things that I needed to grow out of. Even though I was older than she was, there was some things that I was immature about, that I felt that, you know, I was insecure, I didn't understand. Number one, with the bachelor life, the mentality of the bachelor life is that it's all about me. And no matter what's going on, it has to be self-satisfying for me to put something into it. But when I met you, that had to change. I saw the necessity for that to change, that I had to become a more caring person, a more sharing person, a person who was a little bit, I had to man up. Yeah.
And I had to be a little more humble and open.
Yeah.
Because I came from a thing of it had to be my way or the highway. I'm going to explain it one time and then that's it. Whatever my belief is, that's what it is.
Right.
And I remember, I grew up in the South, so we had this thing about my grandmother used to tell us, like, look, don't ever give a person a watch because that puts time on your relationship, and never give a person a pair of shoes because those are the same shoes that they'll walk out on. Bruh gave me a watch and some shoes.
Yes, yes.
And I was like, no, I'm not taking that. I was like, that puts time on the relationship. And we weren't even really like, you know, all into each other.
Then.
But I was like, I just told him, I was like, no, I think we were in the fossil store. And he was like, you know, I'm going to give you this. I said, no, that puts time on your relationship. I said, we don't do that. And I think you told me something like, time has stopped for us.
Yeah.
That this is adding time to us.
Yeah.
And so whatever your little lines were, whatever. They
well, you
weren't.
know, I had to have something.
But I became open to something that most of the time I had been closed-minded to.
Right.
It was the spur of the moment things. It was like you would get out of the shop, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and, we would drive up to Orlando, or, we'd fly to Atlanta. And it wasn't a thing that those were like luxurious trips, but it was just a thing of that spontaneity. It never got dull.
Yeah.
And even in this pandemic and being in the house with each other for 3 months, it never gets dull.
Well, one of the greatest things about a relationship is the importance and the power of spacing. One of the things I really liked about you when I first met you was the fact that but you had your own agenda. You had your own agenda, and therefore, I could be busy, and not really worry about having to cater to her because she had things on her plate. She had things that she were doing, and the thing about it is, during this pandemic, we've adjusted. We spent quality time together, and all of that, but we knew the importance of spacing. Thank God this house that we live in has an upstairs and a downstairs. And we just sort of gave each other space. Space and time, and we did the loving things. She would call me, she'd be upstairs, or I was upstairs, or she was downstairs, or vice versa, or whatever. We would use our phones, and she would call me. She said, "How you doing down there?" I'm like, "Good." "How you doing up there?" "Okay, good." Listen, meet me in the stairwell with some
coffee.
Yeah, with some coffee or some cheese and crackers or some chicken salad or something. Listen, one of the things I want to talk about is how important it is for one to cater to the other, but in an inconspicuous way, not as I'm trying to build brownie points or I'm trying to
but it's genuinely caring for that
Yeah,
person.
it's
you cater when you care.
Yeah, how about that?
You cater when you care, and it doesn't feel like well, I'm doing this for him, and he got me in here cooking this, or she's got me in here cleaning up this. It doesn't feel like it's a burden,
right?
And I think that's where we grew into that. Is that if this is making this person happy, or it's making them comfortable, or it gives them security, then what is it to me to go in the kitchen and get a glass of water?
Exactly.
Or what is it for me to go and he'll go or get gas for me? It's not the thing of that you are compromising yourself, but you're complimenting that person.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that we found out early on in our marriage is how to kind of complement each other.
Yeah.
We knew how to, one new person knew how to push forward, and the other person knew how to, pull back. I think one of the things, and we used to talk about this when we were dating, is I knew how to drive a stick.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that was the biggest turn on for you. He's like, to watch a woman,
shift those gears.
Shift gears.
Yeah.
He was like, yo. But that's marriage.
It is.
That's marriage. In marriage, you gotta learn how to shift gears. You
but
gotta know when to.
Let me tell you what's so funny.
Rev up.
Listen, it wasn't the fact. Yeah, that part too. You shift those gears. But there was this one time that we were in traffic and we were going really fast down 95, and you came up on the back of a car, and I thought you were going to press the brakes. I thought you were going to just hit the brakes, and I was like, oh my God, she's going to hit the brakes. But you downshift. You work back through third gear. You came out of fourth gear, went to third gear and into second and into first, and made the car just slide down. And it sort of just blessed me. Matter of fact, honestly, it turned me on. Let me just be honest about it. I thought that was so fly. I was like, that girl got skills. So, and listen, and because we had a life of working together and being in ministry together and just sharing together, it was important because both of us had different elements. Like for me, I brought some things to the table. I had previously been married, maybe about sometime before I met you. I'm talking about I was single for about I'll say about 12 years before I met you. I was divorced for about 12 years before I met you. And I brought some things to the table. I had children, and I had a business that I was running. And, and I just thought that I had a life that was complete, or it was just...
It was satisfying.
Yeah. And when I found out that it wasn't complete, it was compact. I needed you to help me divide and separate what relationship was really about. And when we say, why did I get married? I got married because I had this little quote. And the quote, when back in the day in the 90s, it was all about, the women who were out there, they were called gold diggers, you know, and here I am. I made a pretty decent living. You know, I was self-contained. I had some things to offer a young lady. I had some things that going for myself. And, you know, it seemed to me, because I was in the hair business, that a lot of the women who were trying to date me, and I never dated my clients. I never dated my clients, never my clients. Other people's clients, yes, but never mine, because I needed to take care of my children. The thing of it was that I needed to find somebody who was doing something different. And I hit her with a question. I said, you know, I hope you're not a gold digger. She said, no, I'm not a gold digger. Then I said, well, do me a favor. If we're going to be together, help me dig for gold. I don't want a gold digger. I want somebody who is going to be there with me and persevere and push forward and trying to obtain some things together. I was tired of being by myself and looking around and seeing that I was empty. So, you know, when we say, why did I get married? It was important. It was important that we find that right person. But even when you find that right person, here comes the hard part.
Because that person is continuously
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah.
You know, the person that you married 25 years ago isn't the same person that sits beside you now.
No.
And you're not the same person that I married 25 years ago.
I have no hair.
I'm a few pounds heavier. You know, my wedding dress was literally like a size 0. You can put a digit in front of that now. But it is the thing where you say unconditional love.
There you go.
Unconditional, good, bad, and indifferent. For better, for worse, for richer, for poor,
Right.
and in sickness and in health, and all of those things. And the strong part that I like at the end is, you want to say, so help me God. It is, because it's nothing but God.
It is God.
It's nobody but God. And when He's the head of your household, and He's the head of you, and He lives in your heart.
Yeah.
The things that will literally out of the ordinary just set you off or make you go to a level 10.
Right.
He will bring you right back down.
Yeah.
And you can laugh at it. It is that when you laugh and you can grow and you take the sting out of it. Because I think what happens, or we've even seen it happen, is that, and we experienced it because, truth be told, we separated for 3 years.
Yeah, we did.
We were separated for 3 years. He was in New York. I was here. I was here with our son. But what happened was that I never stopped loving him.
Right.
And I think that's key.
It is.
Even when people are apart, when there's troubles and there's trials and tribulations, that there's still love there, and there's an unconditional love. So for me, the reason why we're still married is because we had that unconditional love, that through thick or thin, that we allowed God to lead us.
Yeah.
Even through the 3 years that we were apart, we never spoke of divorce. We didn't know what was going on, but we just had never said divorce.
You know, the funny thing, you saying that is, during that season of my life, the Bible says that love covers a multitude of faults and sins. I admitted to myself and to you that as the head of the household and as the man of the house, it was my fault. Sometimes I want to share this with people, and we need to be honest. The Bible says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. It talks about the fact that we are to love our wives as Christ loved the church. And we have to have that kind of love that endures.
Yeah.
So many times right now, and I see it a lot because we counsel a lot of people in their marriages now, and we talk to them about the superficial things of life.
Surface kind of love.
Yeah, that surface kind of love.
Stuff.
Yeah, you know, number one, the surface love is built up off of emotions. Yeah. And it fluctuates depending on what's going on in your life during that time. But there's a real need for us to understand the enduring love. The one that can go through the trials and the tribulations and the obstacles and still yet have that glue mentality of staying together. You know, it is important that we really expound on that part tonight, because we want to encourage somebody through our transparency and through our conversation tonight of how important it is for you to stick and stay. Why did we stay together, Melissa? I know, listen, it was when I went away and I was in New York and you were here, I just like in my ear, there were people saying things, well, this is an opportunity for you to start a new life. This is an opportunity for you to do some things. And they were in your ear telling you, well, girl, if I was you, I would cut him off. I would do certain things. But there were some things that were connected to our relationship that we had no other choice but to put at a higher agenda, at a higher importance in our life. Number one, our son. Our son was one of those factors that God let resonate in my spirit and keep him there, always present on my mind, to try to be a good father, to be a better father than I was, because at that time I was dealing with some issues. I remember my older children, I was so engulfed in the hair business, I was so engulfed in the salon that I didn't give them that quality time. And God would always share with me and keep this on my mind that Quentin, our baby that we had between us, was my redemption child. God gave him to me so that I could learn before I left this earth how to be a good father and actually act upon it and not just talk about it and not just think that I was doing it. I had to work it out. And out of this whole thing, I see it. I see it so plainly over the last 5 or 6 years, how now I feel so good about being a father. Even with my other children, God has allowed my relationship with Quentin to bless my relationship with my older children. They see a different quality of fatherhood that I bring to the picture. It's more concern. It's more adoration and love. It's more just honesty about situations that have occurred from our past, where we are now, and even in the projection of our future. We talk now. We have communication. I think that's really it. If I could just say one thing, Melissa, I love you, sweetie, because we have learned how to communicate good, bad, and indifferent.
Yeah. And I think it's key for us. You know, you said a lot right there. It's like, and we can communicate even in silence.
Yeah.
We've been in rooms with a lot
hundreds of
people, and we can communicate with each other without saying a word. So that, you know, and that just lets me know that we're a part of each other. I remember this was when we it was very early on when in ministry together, and I remember we were in Tampa. Right. And we were in the Coliseum, and and it was the T.D. Jakes Pastors and Leaders Conference. Orlando. Yeah. And so if you've ever been in one of those conferences, thousands of people. And I was standing there at a coffee shop or whatever, and anybody knows me, I'll find a coffee shop. And I just heard wife. Now, there's thousands of people in there. There are a lot of wives in there. But I heard wife. And I turned directly into his direction. And there was like people across from him, and I couldn't see him, but I knew where he was. Yes. And that's the part the attunement, being in tune with each other and being the heartbeat of each other, is that knowing that something is maybe instinctively wrong, or if that person is hurt, or if that person is even happy, so we know that marriage is not perfect because we're not perfect people.
Correct.
And so when we separated, when we came back together, and we decided we're gonna do this, it wasn't that we couldn't do it by ourselves.
Exactly.
It was a conscious decision to do it together.
And how about if God had already mandated or purposed that we be together? We respect God's purpose in our life as never before. We have transitioned in ministry, in our personal lives. We understand that every day is not going to be sunny, that there are going to be some highs and some lows, and things are not going to always go the way that you expect it to go. But the thing about it is, when you have developed in your mind that God has purpose for your life, then you know that you can just stand on that and just, trust that. The Bible says all things work together for the good of those who love God and who called according to the purpose. I want you to understand that God's purpose for your life, those of you who are out there with your mate, it's important that you be in tune with that. And I don't know of any other thing that I would say to you at this moment. If you want your relationship to last and continue to grow, do this one thing for me. Pray about it. So many times we say the wrong things and we do the wrong things, but we serve a God who's able to fix the situation, who's able to take broken pieces and put it back together. I'm going to tell you something. The king's horses and the king's men, they couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again. But if they had to seek God, if they had just reached out to God, God could put all things together. God makes all things work together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. The purpose of relationship and the purpose of marriage has to be dealt with from a perspective that we are imperfect.
I think, and you said that so beautifully. I remember though, when we first came in together, and I remember it so distinctly. I think we hadn't been married a year, and you had given me the light bill, and you had told me to mail it. This is before you do a whole lot of, all the other stuff. We used to have to mail stuff. Now we just do it on the phone. It's instant draw, all that stuff. And I had put it in my purse, and I forgot about it. I did. I left it in my purse, and I remember coming home, and the lights were off. This was when we were living over in Aventura.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, he's going to kill me. I'm like, he gave me the money. He told me to go ahead. He gave me the check in the envelope, everything. All I had to do was drop it in the mail. And I didn't do it. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be crazy. So we didn't have any lights. And then it was after a certain hour, now I think you can just, they just do it digitally, whatever. But after a certain time, you couldn't do anything. So I'm like, oh my God, we have no lights. He is going to kill me. And I remember you coming home and you were like, okay, let's go out to dinner. And I'm like, what? He's like, look, stuff happens. I ain't gonna sweat it. It's been a long day. And we went out to dinner and we had a really nice dinner. And, there was candles and all that stuff when we got back home because we had to, because we ain't had no power. So, like, it wasn't
exactly.
But you said, okay, it was a mistake. Things happen. And you didn't use that to put it over my head or whatever the case may be.
I did, but from a different perspective. Because I'm going to tell you something. The candles and all of that.
That's why we still married.
Yes, it's a little romantic.
You got to know how to use the situation.
Be creative.
You got to find the good in all the situations.
Yes, no matter what's going on. Yeah. And that's really one of the things you have to be adaptable in your relationship. There are going to be dark days. There are going to be light, sunny days. But if you're not adaptable, you know what I mean, and you're so rigid in your thinking and you're so structured that you don't, have any elasticity in the relationship, you can't stretch, you can't do it, everything has to be done by the book, then it's going to cause...
You're going to be alone.
Yeah.
You have, we have to be able to give and take in a relationship.
You do.
If you, and you learn that's growth. Because
that's growth.
before we were... before we were Pastor and Lady, we were Ted and Melissa.
Yes, exactly.
And Ted and Melissa were very stubborn people.
Yeah.
Set in our ways, but we had to learn it. And you have to weigh the pros and the cons.
Yes,
am I better without this person? Am I growing without this person? And if the answer is no, then you got to find a way to adjust and be okay with it and stop taking it so personal. Because now you are a unit.
Let's stay right
a
there.
unit.
A unit.
Yeah.
One body, one mind, and you have to be able to function. So when you're in the relationship, and the things that allow you to stay married is that you never stop learning the individual. Don't think because you've been together for a certain amount of time
that you know that person. I've learned a lot in these last 3 months in this house that I have learned in 24 years. This has been a learning experience. And my thing about it too is, had we not been comfortable with each other, probably in this pandemic, and I think that's what happens with some of the relationships now, is that after the wedding, after the honeymoon, you really are now getting to know that person.
Now you are.
We dated before we dated.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds crazy, but people sometimes do this superficial dating. They feel like if you're going to a movie, or if you're going to dinner, or if you're going out shopping, that's dating. Dating is having a conversation with that person.
There you go.
Dating is being intimate with that person intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
Because truth be told, that person can swing you from the chandelier, and it can be, and
make you want to snatch your wig off.
Yeah, wig on, eyes in the back of your head. But when you get a little bit older, and I didn't understand it. A lot of times when people say, we've watched people that are 40 and 50 years in marriage, and they're like, they can hold hands, or you see them walking together. I go to Publix sometimes and I see the older couples walking together, and it is the most romantic and loving thing that I've ever, that I see.
Yeah, it is.
And it's like, wow, you can feel that love. So it has to be beyond the bedroom.
Yeah, it does.
Because that doesn't keep a marriage.
It doesn't.
Because if that's everything that what your marriage is based on, then if somebody steps outside of that marriage, or something happens, or you get a little older and you can't, and it ain't gonna be five days a week. It might be twice a week. Once a week.
Once a week, or whatever.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be missing a part of your marriage.
Yeah.
You're going to be questioning, like, well, what's going on? It has to be more than that.
The funny thing you say that, Melissa, when people are together and we talk about intimacy, what is intimacy? Intimacy is loving beyond the physical aspect. For me, when I think about intimacy with you, I think about making your coffee. When I make my wife's coffee,
he makes better coffee than I do, and he doesn't even drink it.
Coffee. You know what I mean? And it's my thing. It's
he makes coffee
because I do it.
Me.
I do it to please her. And so many times people think intimacy is a physical situation, but a lot of times it's just the fact that you're showing that person that I have learned, I've been open, I've been aware, I've been learning, I believe, I see. The whole thing about it is being in tune is a learned character. Yeah. It's something that you have to work at you know, and like I said, the first cup of coffee I made for her wasn't really great, but I saw that she liked coffee, and I started doing it, you know, and, you know, I used to tease her all the time. She said, wow, why is my coffee so good? And I used to tell her, I said, I spit in it. She was like, yo, you did what? I said, I spit in your coffee.
Like,
She was like,
really?
really? Really? I was like,
And then
no.
when I make coffee and it doesn't taste good, I'm like, yo, you need to spit in my coffee because it ain't tasting right. But, you know, I remember, I think maybe 2 years into our marriage, and you know, and I loved you. But there was a moment, I think, when you told me, and I really, there was still that guarded piece of my heart. And I think everybody,
when you enter a relationship,
when you enter a relationship, you save a part of your heart because you're like, just in case it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And anybody that ever says that says that they don't, they lying. Because that's the implementation of faith. Yeah. And I remember just literally, there was I can't even remember what happened, but I knew the moment that I had given you my whole heart. And I remember you even telling me, you were like, now I feel you. Yeah. And because it was like, okay. Yeah, it was. All the cards are on the table. All the cards are on the table. And that was the moment that our marriage went to a whole nother level. Yeah. And because there were elements that at that level you bring into it. Yeah. You say you love a person, but you still got some hurts and some issues and things that you're dealing with. Yeah. Do you trust them? Yeah. Do you is okay? Yes, you've accomplished the physical love, the eros. Mm-hmm. But, and did a good job at it. Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that's important. But the important thing was, when do you get to the agape love? The unconditional love. The love that goes beyond borders. The love that's there when the person is undeserving and that covers that person. Yeah. That covers them in their weakest moments. Or cover that situation. Yeah. You know, because a lot of times everybody clapping is not clapping for you. Everybody that's talking, they're not talking the right language. They may not want you to work out. We found that out the hard way, because we trust a lot of people and we thought everybody was in our corner. But when we woke up one day, we figured it out. That marriage is just you and that person. That's right. And you have friends and acquaintances, but your marriage, it's just the two of you. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the only two people that said I do was you and that person. Exactly. And and I love that when you realize that it's just you and me. Mm-hmm. What was it was Share, Sonny and Share, I got you, babe. Yeah, that's it. That's all you got. Yeah. And that's all you really is going to work. And to be honest with you, after we mature and grow up, and I'm just talking to my male counterparts, when we finally figured out, it was the best thing that could happen to us. And we come with the mentality, a lot of men, that we want to conquer the world. We want this woman and we want that woman. But when you find out God lets you know that he had already designed this woman when she was in the womb of her mother, that she was for you and that she was to complete you and take up the slack and build you and love you with that unconditional love and give you that fortitude, that strength. Mm-hmm. Because I believe wholeheartedly that we strengthen each other, that we say the right things. I mean, listen, let me tell you, one of the most genuine acts of love in our relationship at this point is not exactly what we do for each other, because we do for each other inherently. We just get up and we just do it. But what we say to each other. The Bible says life and death is in the power of the tongue, and how important it is for you to say the right things. I want to talk to somebody who's out there listening and you're struggling in your relationship. I want to tell you, begin to say things, not just inerrantly complimenting them, but build that
mate of yours up. Say some things that would push them to do better, to just rise.
To become the spouse that you
Yes.
want, that you need them to be.
Yeah, because I was like, yo, this young lady, she got me one day. I never forget it, man. Melissa was talking and she told me, she said, yeah, I know why I picked you. I said, you know why you picked me? I said, why did you pick me? She said, because you had potential. I was like, yo, and it wasn't the fact, I was like, potential. It was the way she said it. She said, you have the ability to be whatever you want to be. And guess what? I'm going to help you accomplish it. Wow. And when I think about that now, it motivates me that this woman is willing to support my dreams, support my efforts, and support my endeavors, that I can grow. And I have no other choice but to make sure that she grows as well. Here it is now, when I owned all the salons and all of that business, my wife was my greatest supporter. And now I try to...
I was his secretary too.
Yeah. All of that.
I was his
secretary. Yeah.
We had, and that used to be our running joke too.
Yeah. I'm dating my secretary.
Yeah, because sometimes we would be home and he was like, oh, okay, did you make the deposit on what's on the books today? Da da da. I was like, okay, who are you talking to?
Your wife
or your secretary? And his response was, whoever's gonna get it done fast.
That's right. That was my answer.
Yeah, he's like, look, whoever gonna get it done faster. Is the wife that's gonna get it done faster, or the secretary?
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing about it is that when you are okay and secure in who you are,
there you go.
You don't have any problems about building the other person up.
Exactly.
You have to be, not saying that you have to be perfect in who you are, but know who you are.
And you cannot be insecure.
Yeah.
Insecurities shackle the relationship. Insecurities bring the relationship to a standstill. You have to know exactly who you are, what is important in your life, so that you can give what you already have to that person and not feel like they're indebted to you. Yeah, man. It is an enhancement. Ask yourself a question. Am I loving my mate with enhancement love? Am I just loving them to get self-gratification? Am I just loving them to get what I can get out of it? But am I bringing the type of love that enhances my relationship with my mate? It was very important that you do that you bring the type of love that enhances you. I'm into that right now, because guess what? When you figure out that she's all you got, and you're all she has, and it's important. And
you all right with it.
Yeah, you're good with that.
You're good with it.
There you go.
You're good with it.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, that's all I got?
You all I got?
That's all I got. And
I can do bad by myself.
Yeah, and if you keep talking like that, you are going to be by yourself. You're going to do bad and by yourself.
Exactly.
You're like, I can make that happen. But okay, y'all wanted candid conversation. This is us. This is us.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can make that happen.
That could be a true statement. Okay?
Oh man.
I remember, and I encourage especially women, is we put a lot of stress sometimes on men to do things that are very easily can be done for ourselves. I remember there'd be times like he would go to the shop and his whole thing was like, look, he'd be in the shop at 5 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes he'd be there at 11, 12 o'clock at night. And it's a Saturday. Okay, so in most relationships, that's gonna be date night or date day. Friday night, Saturday night, that's date day for most people, in a normal relationship. Okay. For him, that's the day that he's getting everybody else ready for their dates.
Exactly.
And I had to understand that. I knew he was in that business before I married him. So why would I get upset if his schedule is from 5 a.m. in the morning to 11 o'clock at night? So what I would do is I would go out on dates by myself. He would sometimes ask me, where are you going? I was like, I went to Miami Lakes, and because at that time they had everything there. They had a movie theater. I would, start out the day. I would have lunch there. I would go to a daytime movie, a matinee, and then I would maybe have like dinner, and then I would bring him dinner back home.
Exactly.
So I'm not fussing at him because, oh, you don't never take me out. We don't never go nowhere. Boo! Take yourself out.
Yes.
I did. And I didn't have to hear him, asking me what did he miss or what just happened. I could watch the movie in silence.
Oh,
or,
really?
Or as we got a little older, I wouldn't hear his snoring. And I took myself out. And then I wait, and then we would sometimes go out on dates.
Yes, and the same vice versa, because
yeah.
I knew Monday was a heavy day because she worked in a law office, and it seemed like Mondays was her serious day, and Mondays was my day off. So I did the same thing on Mondays. Where did you go? Oh, I went to the mall and
Town Center.
Yeah, I went up to Town Center Mall.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a movie. I just cruised and was by myself. The whole thing about this thing about relationship, you have to know that it's important to complete yourself before you try to complete somebody else. It's just like being on an airplane. When you get on the airplane, the instructions from the flight attendant is in case of an emergency, they want you to take the oxygen mask, put it on yourself before you try to help others. It is important that you bring something to the table that's healthy. Don't think that you are there to fix this and fix that. Fix yourself. We've learned to be all right with ourselves. We learned to know that, listen, I know that I'm here to enhance our relationship.
Oh, yeah, that's something he used to tell me. Here's the thing that, was it complete seasoning?
Yeah.
He used to tell me, he's like, complete seasoning, it already has everything in it, but it can stand alone. It's already, garlic salt by itself can stand alone. Onion powder by itself, it can stand alone. The pepper that's in it can stand alone. The complete seasoning is everything that could stand alone by itself, combined. So that when you're in a marriage, is that we can stand alone, but then but when we come together, we complete each other. We complement each other, and nobody's overpowering the other person.
Yeah.
Because in the complete season, you don't taste the garlic powder all by itself. You don't taste the onion powder all by itself. But it complements. It's a blend.
It's a blend.
And in marriage, you've got to learn how to blend. We've learned how to blend. I think he told me one of the cutest things that he told me in the past year was like, I was the melody to the word. No, I was the words to his melody.
Melody, exactly.
I was the words to his melody, so that I'm not overpowering him, but we're combining together. We're completing each other.
Listen, an encouraging thought for a lot of you who are connected to us today. We didn't get a chance to read all of the comments that people were putting there, but first of all, we want to let you know that we appreciate you. When you come and join us for Marriage Matters, it's not about us being seen or using this social media platform to get likes or to get shares. Our important thing is that it's a ministry tool for us. To bless somebody and to be candid and transparent, because it took a long time to get here, and once we got here, we didn't want to operate selfishly with it. We wanted to let our story enhance somebody else's story,
because we aren't the only ones.
No.
We look, and for a long time we thought I thought I was the only one going through this, and it's not so. We look at divorce rates, or we look at relationships, or we talk to people in counseling, and we find that we're not alone.
No.
But that and I think what blessed our relationship was that we had very transparent people in our lives that told us it does get better.
Yeah, it can.
You can make it.
Yeah. And the whole thing about it is, when you are strong enough to encourage somebody else, then you really see where God has brought you and the process that it took to get there. There's one thing I want all of you all to know tonight, that, listen, we are here for you. You can contact us. We have just developed a ministry. Emerge Ministry is the name of our new ministry, and we deal with all types of issues, family issues, and situations between husbands and wife. We have grown to be able to minister and to be able to share with you ways of achieving a better relationship with your mate and with your children, or whatever it is that you might be perplexed or dealing with. I want to share this with you. Important. If you want to contact us, please go to our site, Emerge Ministries. We have a website that we've just developed. What is the name of our website?
It's emerge.web.org. So it's emerge.web.org. And it has, and you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're all there. I think we're going to start YouTube. But, one of the things, and then I'm going to let Pastor close, but we always tell everyone, and it's blessed us in our transparency too, is that if you ever take a puzzle and it has a whole lot of pieces, but your puzzle is, when you come into a marriage, you're going to have a whole lot of pieces. And you're gonna have to work it from either the outside of the edge, from the inside out, or vice versa. But just work it together. And your puzzle and your pieces are not gonna look like everybody else's. So don't compare your marriage to everybody else's.
That's right.
And that's one. And if you don't get anything else out of this, you are two different people than anybody else. You've got different pieces, but they are going to fit and they're going to work together. And nobody can tell you how to put your pieces together.
Yeah.
But you.
And always include God as the super element to go to, because there are going to be times when neither one of you have the answer.
Why am I in this? Why am I still here?
Yeah. You're not going to have the answer to the issue. And it's going to be problems and stuff, but those problems are there to enhance you, to grow you, to develop you, and to develop both of you. So I need you all to stay in tune with us. This is Monday Marriage Matters. We're here. We're connected. You are welcome to share. Listen, we gave you some ways of getting in touch with us.
Are you going to be tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'm also going to be here tomorrow night.
He's kicking me to the curb.
Yeah, not even that. We are in a very perplexed time in our society. We're dealing with COVID-19. We're dealing with social unrest. We're dealing with racism and discrimination and authoritativeness. We are just dealing with a lot of things. And I am having a conversation with a Caucasian pastor out of New York. He and I will be on Facebook. We'll be talking about some of the issues that are facing people in ministry. There's been so many things that have been said here and there, and we've been hearing some things, and God has blessed us with a platform called Oxygen Tank. And this oxygen tank came after George Floyd's issue, saying that he couldn't breathe. And God gave me this idea of an oxygen tank. And when your air supply is being cut off, it's important that you get oxygen. And God has given me this mindset for the oxygen tank to be able to, for leaders and whoever is in this, to be able to inhale and exhale and resuscitate themselves so that they can progress and move to the next level. So our conversation is going to be about ministry, black and white, and how we can get it to move forward and how we can get on the same page. And please join me at 7 p.m. tomorrow and on Wednesday, 7 p.m. on Wednesday.
He's running a series,
a
mini-series.
Yes, I'm zoomed out this week. I'm zoomed out Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'll do that. And of course, every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday mornings at 6:45, you can catch Pastor Ted McCrae.
He will be alone at 6:45.
That's all right.
6:45. He will be here. I will be here in spirit, encouraging him, lifting him up in prayer. But he will be here at 6:45 on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And me and God, we just gonna have our own
time.
Yes.
But listen, the whole thing about it is there'll be a preached word. There will be a word of ministry. For those of you who would like to tune in, please join me. But there's a platform that we're working out of. This is Pastor Ted McCrae and Lady Melissa McCrae. God has blessed us. We're back at it. We're back at it, strong, hard, and heavy, trying to get this work that God has put our hands to do. And we have our hands on the plow, and we're not going to look back, and we're not going to stop doing what God has already predestined for us to achieve. And we're going to keep moving forward. Listen, we'd like for you to travel with us. Listen, until the next time we meet, and the next time we're together, we pray God's blessings on your life. Listen, live hard,
love hard.
Yes, live hard to the fullest. To God be the glory. God bless you.